If you're having thoughts or feelings of self-harm or suicide, please call the National Suicide Prevention Hotline at 800-273-8255. Hi guys, Leo here with One Happy Widow. Thank you so much for joining us again. If you're new here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that bell so you won't miss any other videos. Hopefully you'll get something out of this one and you'll want to watch some of the other ones. So go ahead and check out some of the other videos and just see if there's anything in there that interests you, and just hang around and see what we got. So today we're going to talk about being a widow with children, or a widower. So most of us have children, whether they be grown, whether they be children, minor children that are still at home. If you are a young widow, then you might be dealing with still raising your children without your spouse after they've passed away. I have kind of a mix right now of minor children, 2 still at home, 2 are grown and out of the house. At the time that my husband passed away, all 4 of them were still at home. So my husband died almost 4 years ago. At the time, my kids were 7, 12, 15, and 19. And now they are 10, 16, 18, 23. And I have a grandson. Today I want to talk about not just grieving ourselves, but helping raise children who are grieving. So it's kind of twofold. We are grieving, but we also are raising our children, and our children are grieving. They lost the same person, but they lost them in a different way. And so I don't make this video to scare anybody, and I'm not trying to say that anything that has happened to me and my kids will necessarily happen to you or your kids. I kind of think about back when Dewey first died. If someone had sort of given me a list or a little bit of a warning maybe, of maybe what to look out for or signs to kind of look for, that probably would have helped me, because you have no idea what you're about to get into when your spouse dies and you have children. You're just kind of flying by the seat of your pants, and you're trying to figure it out as you go, and you're taking it day by day. My mistake was that my children seemed to be okay after the first few weeks. We cried, we had our moments, we went back to school, we kind of were in the routine of the daily grind, staying busy, and I felt like, my kids were doing pretty good until later, maybe 6 months down the road, 8 months down the road. Then different behaviors started to manifest, and it really took me by surprise, and I realized that this was the way that their grief was manifesting. And I have 4 children raised in the same household that all grieved in different ways. And, it affected them differently, each one of them, because they all have different personalities. So what I did was I made a list. I made a list of all the things that my children did, or things that they manifested their grief, or behaviors that kind of came up from the time that he died until present day. I'm not going to go into detail about everything that happened, but I'm just going to give you like the laundry list of all the things that I have dealt with my 4 children. I won't tell you which one did what. There's even a couple things that I'm leaving out because they are so sensitive topics that I really don't want to share. Again, I don't want to scare you, and I don't want you to think that this is what's coming for you. But if I had known that even some of this stuff was coming for me, I at least could have prepared myself. All right, so I'm going to be looking down and reading some of this list, because I cannot memorize it all, and it's pretty long. Now, also to note before I start giving you this list is that, my kids are going through teen years. And so some of these behaviors are just behaviors that you're going to see from a teenager as they're going through adolescence. And so you might think, well, that would have happened anyway. Lots of teenagers do that, even if their parent hasn't died. But these are behaviors that I did not see before, that I only saw after he passed away. So it's really hard to tell if it's just being a teenager or if it's being a teenager whose dad died. Since I can't tell, I'm going to go ahead and add it to the list. If it wasn't already going on, then it started going on later. I put it on the list. And I'm just going to be frank with you that my husband was a drill sergeant, and he pretty much kept the kids in line. He was a disciplinarian, and so we didn't really have any problems with our kids. Although they were younger, they were very well behaved. They were well adjusted. If they had any kind of mental problems or anything like that, they kept it well hidden because I didn't know anything about it. None of them needed therapy. They were like regular normal kids until this bomb was dropped on them. So from the time that Dewey died until up to this present day, so almost 4 years, here's a list of the things that I have dealt with one or more of my children. Eating disorders, anxiety. The anxiety has been medicated in several of them. Depression, also medicated. Suicidal ideations, suicidal attempts. Those were also dealt with, which actually led to several stays in medical facilities for short-term treatment to get them past those moments. We've had several of those incidents. Vaping. I know lots of teenagers vape, but my kids were not vaping before their dad died. I believe that's how they have tried to self-medicate some of their anxiety. Marijuana use, CBD, THC, all different types, vaping, smoking. I don't know all whatever. I know that it's been some marijuana use. As far as other drugs, I don't think there's been any other drug use that I know of. So I'm crossing my fingers that that's where the line has been drawn. Many traffic citations. So I've got 2 drivers now. I've got 1 in training, and some reckless driving. And again, that could be a teenage thing, but yeah, the driving records are terrible. Risky sexual behaviors. We won't talk about who or what or details, just know that it's happening. I had unintended unwed teen pregnancy. That only happened once, thank God, which resulted in, I guess you could call it a shotgun wedding, but they did get married, and now I have a beautiful grandson out of that. So even though it wasn't really planned the way we wanted it to happen, he is a sweet little blessing that I have that just makes my day brighter. Social media bashing. I became the target of all the frustration and the anger, and I've been told that I'm the reason why 1 or 2 of them is miserable and why their life sucks. I've been told that they wish I had died instead of their dad. I have been told they wished I never had them. They wished I had aborted them when I was pregnant with them. I've had some pretty nasty things said to me, and I mean, I'm doing the best that I can do, and all I can do is keep doing the best I can do. I'm not a perfect parent, but I do love my kids and I care about them, and I'm doing the best that I know how. We've had issues with runaway, more than 1. We've had lots of therapy, psychiatrists, medication, psychologists, therapists, weekly therapists, monthly therapists, on and on. Not just 1 kid, several. Change in image, specifically in 1 kid, the way they dress, the way they do their hair, the way they present their image has been a total 180 from how the kind of style that they had before and the kind of style that they have now has become very edgy, kind of in your face, more, I mean, that could just be her trying to find herself, but it's definitely a difference in image. If you saw a picture of her today versus a picture of her 4 years ago, besides just her growing up, you wouldn't recognize the same person. Body modifications, many body modifications, piercings, tattoos, more piercings, more tattoos and more piercings. One of them might run out of skin pretty soon. There's been an abundance of those. My kids, 3 out of 4 of them are actually tested as gifted children, but yet the 3 that are gifted are the ones that are struggling with their grades. So we've dealt with some failing grades from genius children, not based on the fact that they couldn't, but the fact that they wouldn't, or they emotionally couldn't, but not academically couldn't. So many changes in school environments. We've tried public school, we've tried online school, we've tried home school, we've tried my own curriculum, we've tried state curriculum, we've tried private online school, we've tried public online school, we've tried charter schools. We have run the gamut of changes in school environments. Maybe I've taught them that when the shit hits the fan, it's time to turn tail and try something else. I don't know, but I'm so afraid that they're going to drop out or fail that I'm willing to make a change pretty quick in order to make sure that they stay on track with school. But I think I might have set that up as when shit gets hard, let's just, change our environment and just do something else. And so I don't know if I've taught them the wrong way. I don't know. I'm doing the best I can. I'm going one day at a time. There's been some illegal activities with friends, and I don't want to really talk about what they are, and let's just know that there's been some risky behaviors, some peer pressure, some involvement with social stuff, and let's leave it at that. There's been some severe weight changes, losses and gains. All 4 of them have changed. Their body has changed in massive ways, both up and down, in the last 4 years. There's been, unfortunately, I hate to say this, but there's been countless incidents with police. Visits to our house and run-ins with them, and luckily none of them has ended up in any arrests or any charges being brought against them. But let's just say that the local police might have my address on the top of their GPS. I don't really want to say, but it's possible. There's been many angry outbursts.
You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
Things being broken, things being thrown, holes in walls, things being purposely broken, people getting mad and wanting to beat someone else up, and so there's been some scuffles, okay, between some family members. In addition to a lot of yelling, cussing, screaming, frustrations, crying. There's been a lot of those. There's been issues with insomnia, so kids not being able to fall asleep, and on the other hand, there's also been issues with excessive sleeping, so really not being able to get them woken up. Sleeping day, sleeping night, sleeping all day, staying up all night, changes in their sleep schedule when they don't have a regular school schedule and they're at home and they're doing their schoolwork sort of on their own pace. It does tend to mess up their sleeping schedule. In addition to that, I work, so it's kind of hard to keep them on track when I'm not here all day. Night terrors, nightmares, migraines, cyclic vomiting. You don't know what cyclic vomiting is. I didn't know what that was until my kid had it. So it's basically vomiting for no physical reason. Usually it stems back to anxiety. So I have one kid who gets nervous and she vomits, and she pretty much has mastered the art of vomiting on command. Okay, so when she gets nervous or she doesn't want to deal with a situation that she's in, she just starts puking, and then pretty much gets her out of anything that she doesn't want to have to do. So we're kind of past that, hopefully, but it does rear its ugly head every once in a while. Excessive school absences. I've received many letters about truancy and about excessive absences. Kids who are having trouble not wanting to go to school for emotional reasons, having meltdowns, refusing to go to school, refusing to get out of bed, refusing to get on the bus, purposely missing the bus and then hanging around in the woods all day and not being able to be found, hence one of the runaway stories. But excessive school absences. And when that happens, and I get a letter saying that if your kids don't start coming to school, then we can send you to jail. I don't want to go to jail because my kids refuse to go to school. It's a really tough position to be in. And then when I am able to get them to school, I don't even know, if they're always going to class. I have one that likes to hide in the bathroom for hours and hours at a time, and nobody seems to ever know where they are until, hours go by or they miss the bus or whatever. So it doesn't do any good to send your kid to school for them to sit on the toilet for 4 hours just to keep from having to go to class. Let's see, there's been issues with intense self-loathing and really low self-esteem in the way that they view themselves. I think it has manifested in, the death of their dad has turned into like an inner anger at themselves or an inner disappointment in themselves, or, it's mentally it works out some way, but there's a lot of self-loathing and probably a little bit in all 4 of them. It happens to me too, and it's probably genetic in some way. Probably some of these other anxiety and depression issues may be genetic also in a little bit, but I think that their grieving has probably triggered, some of these behaviors to be a lot worse than they would be otherwise. We've had issues with pet hoarding, so we have had dogs, cats, gerbils, birds, guinea pigs, reptiles, ferrets, raccoons. There's been so many pets that have, it's like a revolving door of pets. Inability to keep a job. So the two that are actually working have switched jobs, and some of it has to do with the pandemic, and some of it has to do with emotionally saying, I can't handle this anymore and I'm having a sad day and I shouldn't have to go to work. And so those mean people are telling me that if I don't come to work that I'm going to get fired, and they don't understand my pain, and so they can go, shove it, take this job and shove it, I'm not coming back. So that's happened a lot of times. Inability to stay in one place, live in one place. There's been a lot of moving around, like I can't make the rent, or my landlord is a butthole, or the person I'm staying with, my roommate, hates me, or any other kind of situation. There's been a lot of changes in living arrangements since Stewie died. I think that has kind of set them up as always thinking that if something gets bad, if something gets uncomfortable, I'll just change, I'll just move, I'll just go away, I'll just quit, I'll start something else. And that's probably started by me, unfortunately, but hindsight's 20/20, and I should have encouraged them to try to stick with things a little longer, but it was just, I guess, easier at the time when I was also grieving to just let them change to do something that would be easier and try to figure something else out, which has resulted in a lot of changed stuff for my kids. They tend to try to play the dead dad card. So not that they're ever going to get over it, but they have got to realize that they are going to have to live in this world, and that the rest of the world doesn't really care about their dad dying. I mean, they care to an extent, but they don't care to enough to just give them a blanket pass on everything and say, well, since your dad died, you don't have to do the hard stuff at work that you don't want to. You don't want to wash the toilet. You don't want to clean the toilets, even though that's part of your job. Well, since you're so sad that your dad died, don't worry, I'll do it for you. Like, it doesn't work that way. Life doesn't work that way, but they still don't understand why they can't just say, well, my dad died and I'm really sad, so I shouldn't have to do that. So that's a skill that I'm really trying to teach the younger ones so that they don't carry those over also. And then that's pretty much all that I have on the list right now. But I can tell you that even as recently as this week, we've had some major issues that we've had to deal with. Anxiety, depression. It's still rearing its ugly head. I mean, we're still dealing with it, like, even now, almost 4 years later, it's still kind of coming up. So I don't know if it will ever end. I don't know how they're gonna, figure out how to live and figure out how to grow up and do their thing and figure life out without their dad. But we're taking it one day at a time. And somebody's spying on me. What? I'm filming right now. Somebody's spying. So, do you wanna make a cameo appearance? Yeah. All right, come on in. Oh, here comes Little Miss Little One. This
Hello.
is child number 4. We won't tell you which one of these things on the list that she's been doing, because she's the angel, right?
Yeah.
You never do anything wrong, do you? Well, this list is about kind of the things that have happened to you guys since Daddy died, and the things that you've struggled with, like your emotional stuff, and like, anger, sadness, depression, anxiety, vomiting, migraines, not being able to sleep. Now I can just rattle them off. Do any of those sound familiar to you? Probably not.
There's the migraines are probably something like if you're probably sad about something, and if you cried, that's probably a source of it.
Okay, that makes sense.
Nightmares could just be out of mourning, I guess.
Anger. What about breaking stuff?
Oh, yes, breaking stuff. People tend to get defensive when they get sad and depressed, and if they go over the edge sometimes when somebody asks them a question that they don't want to answer.
Oh, okay.
They'll break something, or when somebody gets them mad, their emotion, like expressing emotions, is just anger.
Maybe I think it comes from when you feel out of control, like you can't do anything about your frustration, so you don't know how to express it, so it comes out in angry outbursts, maybe.
Yeah.
How did you overcome that?
Mostly JP, but
Okay.
I also spent more time on YouTube and stuff, and I used to. I made little characters and designed stuff
Okay.
on my iPad, but now it's broken.
Yeah. What did JP do to help you?
Mostly just the idea of having a father figure,
Okay.
and we went to Publix. We go to Publix still like 5 times a week.
That always helps. Publix always helps.
Yeah,
Right?
because whenever I go with him, we spend like $400.
Well, spending money at Publix, that always helps. Like, all right, anything else you want to add? Anything else you want to tell our WID fam out here? Squat down just a little bit so your head's not being. There you go.
Can I tell him which one I am on the
If
list?
you want to, yeah.
I'm the vomiting child.
Okay.
I'm the chronic vomiting one.
As long as you don't mind everybody knowing about it. She's the one that pukes on command.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Like, go ahead and show them. No, I'm just kidding.
I was
I'm
like,
kidding.
wait a minute. hold on. My friend actually asked me to do it on the back of her golf cart.
No. All right, well, it's good to meet you. This is child number 4. So say hi and then say bye to our viewers.
All right.
Hi.
Hello and goodbye.
Bye. Okay, thanks. I'm going to wrap it up now. So the last thing that I want to say is maybe a lesson to all of you guys who are not knowing what to do, especially in the beginning. I will tell you something that I did that was a bad mistake. When we finally did get our life insurance and we were trying to buy the house and get everything kind of, put into place, and there was some extra money. And so what I did was I basically threw money at my children left and right to try to cover up the grief. Because that's all I knew to do. Like in my mind, I still do it to myself. Retail therapy is a real thing, and I'm still doing it. Like Amazon shopping, that's my therapy. Spend money, I don't have to think about my problems. So, the first Christmas after Dewey died was ridiculous. Okay, I spent thousands of dollars on their Christmas stuff. I bought a golf cart. I bought the 16-year-old a new, not a brand new, but like a new Mustang, a car. I just bought it for her and gave it to her for her birthday. Handed her the keys. She didn't do anything to earn it. She didn't do anything she didn't help pay for it. Nothing. Just gave it to her. And as a result, me throwing all this stuff at them and doing all this, like basically buying. I figured I could buy their grief. It did not work, amazingly. Like, it didn't work, right? But at the time, I just didn't know what else to do. And what I did was I created 4 monsters of entitled children who wonder, like, why can't I just buy my way out of this? Why can't you just buy this for me, Mom? I don't have to work for anything. I think their generation is already kind of entitled and feel like they should have stuff. But to be honest, that was the worst thing that I could have done. It was the easiest thing at the time, but let me warn you, do not think that you can buy your kids a bunch of stuff and make them happy after their mom or dad has died, because it's not going to work, and in the long term it's going to backfire on you, and it's going to be even worse than it was. Anyway, that's about it for this video, guys. I hope this not really scared you, but like I hope this kind of gave you an idea of, if you haven't seen this kind of stuff, just be ready, okay? Be ready for some therapy. If your kids need therapy, just send them to therapy. I should have spent money on therapy in the beginning instead of money on cars and golf carts and toys. That's what I really should have done, because now I'm still spending money on therapy and I'm having to fix what I've messed up later. So just don't hesitate to send them to therapy if you think they need it. And, don't think that just because they go 6 months and you don't see any issues that you're not going to see issues, because you may see delayed issues down the road. And I think if you just be ready for it, be ready for anything. Just know that anything could pop up at any time, and be ready. That might kind of help you so that you're not taken by surprise and feel like your legs have been cut out from under you. And I don't have any answers. Like, I can't help you with any of this stuff. Let me just tell you that parenting kids who are grieving is freaking hard. Okay. And I said this in another video, but like, I feel like I'm failing every day. But all I can do is do the best I can today, and then wake up and try to do the best I can tomorrow. And that's all I can do. I'm a mom who's grieving, and I have grieving kids, and that's all. I have to be kind to myself and forgive myself for my mistakes, and just know that I care about my kids, and what I do for them is all done in love. All right, the shirt for today is, you can totally do this. All right, so when you're parenting and you're having trouble and you're frustrated and you don't really know how you're going to do this, just know that you can, okay? Because if they've lost a parent already, then you're the only one left. So be there for them, and they might act like they hate you, but that's because you're the closest person to them, and that's they do that because they know that they're safe with you. They know that you're the least person that's likely to leave them, and so when they feel angry and they want to take it out, they take it on the person closest to them, and that's probably you. And so try not to take any of those outbursts personally, because they really do love you, and they just don't know really how to express their anger, their grief, their sadness, depression, and you know, they're gonna try you and test you. But hang in there. I promise it gets better as time goes by. You know, just take it one day at a time. One day at a time. Be kind to yourself and know that you're not going to do anything perfectly. You're probably going to mess up, and that's okay too, because we're all human. And just keep hanging in there. Just love your kids, and one day they'll look back and they'll see what you've done for them and how you were there for them. And best of luck. And you know, hang in there for the next video. Thanks, Wood fam, and we'll see you next time. Until then, bye.